And would you pray with me before we begin? Our soul waits for the Lord. He is our help and our shield. For our heart is glad in him, because we trust in his holy name. Let your steadfast love, O Lord, be upon us, even as we hope in you. Amen. Amen. $10 at Yokes. That's nothing. What about your portfolio? What about your net worth, your wealth management? What about all of your stuff? All these things that God in his great faithfulness has given unto thee. What about those things? Should I put it in the stock market? Should I put it in my mattress? Should I put it into precious metals? Or was Mary Poppins right? I should just feed the birds instead. Should I give it? Should I keep it? Should I keep it for a rainy day? Should I spend it on a sunny day? We worry about these things. And we live in a world that traffics in worry. So Jesus says to us, don't be anxious about your life. Do not. You little faither, you little faith people, you little faithites. Don't sow, don't reap, don't toil, don't spin. That's like the ravens, that's like the lilies. Because they don't do that. And they have plenty because their God loves them. Do not, this is verse 29 of Luke 12, do not seek what you are to eat and what you are to drink, nor be worried. Don't. Meanwhile, we click on the TV or we look at a magazine. Our world wants you to worry and wants you to worry desperately. They want you to worry that you're not wearing the right clothes, that you're not driving the right car, that you don't have enough money for today, much less today. What about next year? Next year, do you have enough money for your golden years? You should be worried today about 30 years from now. And if you're not, you're irresponsible, you're incompetent. Worry. Because that's how they can get you to buy their product. If they can get you to worry, you'll vote for their candidate. You better vote for him or else all these terrible things are going to happen. I better vote. I better buy that product. The sale ends today. I got to get down there. I got to hurry up. To get you to do your bidding, the people of this world want you to worry. And this world, just as a reminder, is under the authority and dominion of who? The evil one. The evil one would wind you up into worry. We're not just talking about Washington, D.C. or Madison Avenue. We're talking about Satan, who wants you to be a worrier. And Jesus stands there and says, the nations of this world worry about these things. The nations who are a part of Project Satan are the worriers. You will be different. But boy, it's hard. It's really hard. But then Jesus says in verse 28, just great 3 words, life is more. Life is more than all that stuff. The story of Abraham is great because God comes to Abraham and says, Abraham, just a reminder, I'm going to bless you. I told you in chapter 12, now in chapter 15, I'm telling you again, I'm going to bless you. And Abraham says, but I don't have what I need. I need an heir. Eliezer of Damascus, he's my servant. He's going to get all my stuff if we don't have an heir. And what does God do? He goes, Abraham, come outside with me and look up. Heads up, Abraham, look up. What do you see? Stars? Right. Do you even understand what I'm talking about when I talk about a promise? I'm promising this. You're looking at this. I've got this coming out of you, Abraham? Do you believe this? Do you believe the stars that are like the sand on the seashore? Do you believe that your descendants will fill heaven? Do you believe that or not? In chapter 11 of Hebrews, it says that Abraham finally got this. It says, I'm going to read parts of this again just as a reminder. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place that he was to receive. He was promised he's going to receive an inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going. By faith, he went to live in the land of promise, but in a foreign land, living in tents. This doesn't sound great to me, unless you love camping. But this is not, I think, what he had in mind. With Isaac and Jacob, heirs with him of the same promise. Why? Because he got it in chapter 15. He was looking forward to the city that has foundations, whose designer and builder is God. That's a different city. Therefore, from one man, and him as good as dead, were born descendants, as many as the stars of heaven. Abraham died in faith, not having received the things promised, but having seen them and greeted them from afar. He lived for something he didn't see right in front of him. He lived for something by faith that was ultimately promised. And having acknowledged that they were strangers and exiles on the earth, in other words, I'm letting go of that for this. There's more. Life is more than this. For people who speak thus, make it clear that they're seeking a homeland. But as it is, they desire a better country. That is a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, and he has prepared for them a city. Are you on that team? Or are you on Team Nations? I am so worried about today. Look up. Come on, life is more. Look up. Abraham, do you see it? I see it. Are we children of promise, like Abraham, called by God to receive the promise that totally changed the trajectory of his thinking, the trajectory of his life? You, baptized into Christ, called by God, given faith by which to live in Christ, you now have received the promise, and it should have changed your trajectory forever, though Satan would yank us back to his trajectory all the time. Which is why we need to be faithful to being people of faith. Not you, says Jesus. Don't be like that. Instead, seek the kingdom, because the Father is pleased to give you the kingdom. I get the kingdom, but I can't have the kingdom now, and I like things now. Why? Because I'm an American consumer. I don't want to have to wait. It's going to go on a tangent, but we just don't have time. We don't like to wait for anything, do we? And we certainly don't want to wait. If I can have a great weekend, why do I need to wait for a great eternity? If I can have a great home now, why do I need to wait for my heavenly dwelling? Now Jesus takes on the role of financial advisor because he's going to talk specifically about our stuff. So buckle in. This is challenging stuff. With this new trajectory, do you want the best return on your investments? $10 for a Beanie Baby? Maybe. Should I save it so I'll have $75 later? Jesus says, you want the best return on your investment? Sell your possessions. Sell them. By the way, this is a good time to remind you we're having a flea market a week from Saturday. So you might want to be gathering this biblical application of life. Just get your stuff together, get a truck, come on down. Let's get rid of some stuff. Actually, this is a good chance for those of you who know the Bible study of the rich young ruler. You remember that story? Where he came and said, "Good master, I want to be a follower of yours." Jesus says, "Do the commandments." He goes, "I am spotless. I am a commandment keeper. What else do you need?" He says, "Sell everything." And he walked away sad because I can't give up this for that. I will not give up this for that. The things of this world have got me, and I can't let them go. Jesus says, sell your possessions. It's not about getting rid of things, like having things is a problem. We talked about that last week. Prosperity is not a problem, it's a blessing of God. It's all over the scriptures, it's all over the Psalms. Just read through the Psalms. In my Bible, I put little marks in the margins for things I want to remember. Whenever there's a thing about prosperity or the fact God gives stuff, I put a little dollar sign over on the side. Go, wow, there it is again. There it is again. And I hate prosperity gospel preachers who tell you that to follow after Jesus means that he's going to make you rich. That's a lie from hell. That follow after Christ and you will suffer, that's the promise of God. But the Bible does say throughout, including the life of Abraham, that I will prosper you if I feel like it. And so prosperity, we just sang, great is thy faithfulness. All those things that God gives to us. That's great. That's great. It's not that having is bad, but it's investing. Once you have it, now what? We talked about that last week. Now what are we going to do? Well, what about this week? Where's he going to take us? And then Jesus says this, provide for yourself money bags. Hence the sermon title this week, which is Heads Up, Money Bags. Heads up, but provide for yourself money bags. Wait, you just said Jesus is not about providing yourself money bags. By the way, that's a funny word in the Greek. Some of you have purses in your translation, but that's a little feminine. Wallet, maybe a little masculine. The best term would be a fanny pack. Provide for yourself either a money belt or a fanny pack, some sort of storage. You want to compile a pile of possessions. You would have a pack for yourself to hold them. He says, provide for yourself money bags. But what Jesus is saying is, I'm talking about Abraham-style money bags. I'm talking about faith-style money bags. You want to invest in it. Verse 33, sell your possessions and give to the needy. Provide yourselves with money bags that don't grow old, with a treasure in the heavens that doesn't fail. No thief approaches, no moth destroys. Where your treasure is, your heart will follow. Again, back to the Beanie Baby. I can have it now and be $10 out. Ooh, I could have more later. Or you could put that money in a kingdom IRA, your individual eternal retirement account. I'm going to put it there because there it collects 10,000% interest and is waiting for me when I get to my permanent dwelling. Beanie Baby? Doesn't seem to compare. Actually, really, is it 10,000% interest? That's actually 500,000%. It's actually beyond what you can ask, think, or imagine. What can you imagine? A lot. It's a lot. You mean, if I give this dollar to this poor person as a cup of cold water to somebody in need on a day, I get 1,000,000% on that in my eternal dwelling? That's right, Jesus says. You better have a big fanny pack because you're providing for yourself treasures. Do you want that treasure or do you want the Beanie Baby? Anyone old enough to remember Let's Make a Deal? You got a Beanie Baby here, or you can have $75 here, or what's behind the curtain? What's behind the curtain? Jesus says it's a treasure like you can't imagine. Do you want it or not? I can't see it. Heads up. See the stars? Are you in that game or are you in this game? If you're in this game, invest in a way that it's going to come back to you like you can hardly believe. This image came to my mind too. Imagine you're staying in a hotel and you have $20,000 in your pocket. I got one night in this place, and you walk in and you look and say, you know, this place could use some carpet and maybe some paint, and I'm going to load it with tech and put a spa in the corner. And I'm going to pay for all of that so that my evening here will be great. Now, if you're independently wealthy and you have piles of cash and you can do stuff like that, or if you're a rock and roll band and just crash hotel rooms and smash everything just for the fun of it, well, most of us would say that's really a stupid investment. For a temporary dwelling, to put a bunch of money into it when you know that tomorrow you're not going to be in it, right? Would you ever do that? Of course not. We do it all the time, Christians. This room, compared to our eternity in heaven, this isn't even an overnight. This is just a momentary blip. And yet we keep investing in it and saying, this is what are we even doing? That's why Jesus says, don't do that. Don't worry about this. Invest here because that's going to be your eternity. And you can get this huge return on the simplest gift. Sell your possessions. But I paid $100 for it. That's okay, and get 40 on Marketplace. But I lose money. Look up. You got $40. What can you do with that $40? Give it to Union Gospel Mission. Yeah, but I had this thing. Yeah. But over here, you know what they're accruing over here? Descendants. Like Abraham. They're dealing with people. Your investment in the world that you're in, if you're investing in the lives of people being changed for eternity so you can enjoy them forever and ever, that is better than Netflix. That is better than than 600 more square foot of house. Jesus is saying, is your head up or not? Are you living by faith according to the life that I've... Come on, little faithers. Says Jesus. Traffic in reality. This is fake. This stuff is fake. That is a lie from Satan. Just don't fall for it. And you can't be worried about this. You can't. Because you're living now for this kingdom. And you can spend yourselves in ways that'll advance it. So heads up, Moneybags. Heads up and prepare your bag for the ultimate return on investment. That's your home, that's your homeland, that's your city, that's your country, that's your kingdom, according to the scriptures. I just want to close. Oh, here it comes. A friend passed away this week in my life. He's the man who, he walked me through my colloquy process, which is how I got ordained in the Lutheran Church. He's a fine, fine man. His name is Jack Preuss, Reverend Jacob Preuss, to those who didn't know him well. He was a seminary professor for 12 years at Concordia in St. Louis. For 10 years, he was the president of Concordia University, Irvine. Then he retired to become the executive manager of Bethesda. It's a retirement communities across the country. Bethesda Lutheran Communities, I think it was called. And then after he retired there and moved to Apache Junction, Arizona, which is where I met him, he spent his waking hours trying to advance Lutheran education in Uruguay, trying to develop a new campus down there. So he'd fly down to Uruguay, and he was always flying to Thailand to do some Bible teaching. He just kept investing and investing and investing. And then he meets a guy like me and says, I'd love to help you through the colloquy process because, Bill, if you become a pastor in our tradition, you'll help us raise up more descendants. He was in the descendants business, whether it was a SEM student or a college student or a senior citizen in a care center or somebody from another country. To his dying day, he had his priorities straight. And because of that, you should see on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on the Wittenberg, the Wittenberg page of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, all across the country, people are just saying, here's a guy who gave of himself for the sake of others. And now he's with the Lord, and I just can't imagine the party around the table with all the descendants that he touched with his life. Now, not all of us can be seminary profs and presidents of colleges. But Jack, man, we're going to miss you, not because you're just a nice guy, but because you got it and you invested yourself. That we would invest ourselves in the same way. Whatever our sphere of influence is, might it be known of us that to our dying day, we got it and we invested in things that matter. And on the day that I really want to get down to this memorial service, like one I haven't wanted to in a long, just really got to be there, because I can't wait to see the outpouring, because that will stir me and remind me, Bill, come on, don't get lost in the weeds. Heads up, Moneybags. Prep for the richness of the reward of God should you remain a person of Abraham-like faith for the rest of your days. May we be those people here at St. John's, and even when we leave St. John's, when we're home by ourselves, might our lives be characterized by that kind of investment. Let's turn to the Lord in prayer. We have much to thank him for, of course, but also ways that we can be praying for one another in community. If you'd like to kneel, you may use your kneeler, or if you just like to remain seated, myself and the deacons will lead you in prayer. Let's turn to the Lord.